What is going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I've got a video of the brand new 2020 iPad Pro, which quite a few of you asked me about, and I know a lot of students follow me, so you might be making the decision as to whether to get the MacBook Air or the iPad. So if you guys want to see more videos of like student-related tech, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video and leave a comment down below as to any questions you might have of the new iPad. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you right now, as a tech reviewer, we check out a ton of products, and a lot of times right away we'll have like suggestions as to what we want to see in the future generation. But in the case of the iPad Pro 2018, it was a bit different. That iPad was already extremely powerful for what it was, and if anything, it was limited by its software, but other than that, the hardware was incredible. You had 240Hz touch panel and 120Hz ProMotion display, which is obviously still on the new generation, and the Apple Pencil 2nd generation really took advantage of that, and for a lot of artists, I've seen some incredible stuff done only on an iPad. Personally, the iPad was my only portable device for the past couple months because I sold all of my laptops after getting the Mac Pro, but I do plan to bring back a MacBook because I just don't feel like it is really a complete laptop replacement yet. Some of the main things that I did on the iPad included watching movies and just like stuff on flights when it came to multimedia, obviously like emails as well, but what it was really good at was photo editing, such as Photoshop Express, retouching stuff, and also Lightroom Mobile, because I do all my photo editing on a mobile device. So in terms of what I needed it for, it was really good. So when the new generation came out, I was really skeptical as to what else they could do to it. And honestly, I'm gonna tell you that for the most part, and for most people out there, you should just go buy like a used or refurbished previous generation, unless you feel like it is slightly worth it. And if you want the double storage for the same base price of the iPad, which is $799. I am glad that it comes with 128 gigs now, because 64, even though it was like borderline enough and I was kind of hovering that thin line around there, I did run out of it. So when it comes to the changes, aside from the obvious, which is the cameras on the back, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, on the inside you have an A12Z Bionic chip, and this is still an 8-core processor for the CPU, but the GPU is now 8 cores as opposed to 7 cores before. What this means for real-world performance, it is actually pretty minimal. If you look at the Geekbench scores, the change is literally just about 1%, so you're not going to notice it whatsoever. And even in terms of graphics, I feel like the previous iPad was already very powerful, and you're not going to notice anything major unless you're really pushing it. And when it comes to doing like exports in LumaFusion, if you're doing some video editing, you may notice differences there as well. While I was editing this video though, there was an article that came out that states that the architecture of the previous generation A12X chip and the new A12Z chip is actually the exact same, and the only difference is the fact that the newer generation has 8 cores enabled on the GPU as opposed to 7 cores on the previous generation, with 1 being disabled. It is mainly down to reliability and the progressions that it has made in the past couple years, but if you're looking for another reason to upgrade, here's just kind of a clarification to that. In terms of the processor alone, in 18 months, the only difference you're going to find is 1 extra GPU core enabled. The iPad has really been an example as to just how powerful Apple's very own chips are, and we expect to see them in the laptops in maybe the next year. The next change is a camera system on the back, and instead of having 1 camera, you now have 3 technically, but 2 usable ones, and that includes a 12 megapixel f1.8 camera as the main one, as well as a 10 megapixel ultra wide at an f2.4, but both these things are not meant for you to go outside and take some photos, even though you're probably inside right now. It is to use it for AR, and that is in conjunction with the new LiDAR sensor. It's a laser-based camera that emits light up to 5 meters both indoors and outdoors to put together like a depth image for AR. As well as in very practical use cases, using apps like Wayfair or IKEA to figure out what ugly piece of furniture you want to add to your house without having to physically buy it and see how bad it looks before having to send it back, which is something that I've definitely done. So even though this is like great technology to see in a consumer available device, and even though professionals are going to be using the iPad Pro, I feel like for like the vast majority of people, and even prosumers and power users of the iPad, you're never really going to get to take advantage of those additional cameras. It also does have Wi-Fi 6, and the reason why I think they put it in the iPad Pro 2020 but not in the MacBook Air 2020 is because they're probably going to update the MacBook Air again next year, whereas the iPad Pro is probably going to be on a 2-year release cycle, considering just how ahead it is in the industry. So just on the 2 major changes alone, as someone who usually would jump to upgrade something right away because I review tech for a living, I'm gonna say I'm probably gonna return the 2020 iPad Pro because it just doesn't really seem worth it to me. If you're buying an iPad for the very first time though, or haven't upgraded your iPad in 4 years or so, then this might be the perfect time to get one, because I feel like people hold on to their iPads much longer than MacBooks. This year's iPad also has an improved microphone system, which I feel like makes it a better system for like video conferences than the MacBook, because those have 720p webcams, and this right here probably has much better image quality. So when it comes to like actually using it, the experience doesn't really change from the previous generation. It is still very powerful, and when it comes to doing like Photoshop, Lightroom, and even being able to video edit on it, it is impressive that a tablet is able to do that, even if it isn't like the most practical scenario. Being able to use like the Apple Pencil to like draw and like pinpoint different things and doing all sorts of types of art that I'm not really good at on a tablet is also something that you don't get from a laptop. With the latest update of iPadOS, it allows you to use a trackpad with this tablet, and with the Magic Keyboard coming up very soon, this does make it closer to like an actual computer, but I still don't feel like it is quite there. Another thing to note is that it also has 6 gigs of RAM as opposed to 4 gigabytes that were seen pretty much across the board except for the 1 terabyte model in the 2018 model. Other than that, the screen is beautiful and didn't really need any improvements. It is a 2732 by 2048 resolution 120Hz display with 240Hz touch panel with True Tone as well. And the touch definitely does benefit when you use the Apple Pencil and the sensitivity that you get from it. The quad speaker system also makes the multimedia experience really nice. When it comes to battery life, I feel like this is one of the bigger advantages of the iPad to a MacBook, and I found that I was able to get like 10 hours, no problem. And for the most part, I was doing multimedia and very basic tasks, and obviously when you do like graphics and like photo editing, then that time is going to drop down significantly. But when it comes to like just using it as like a casual kind of on-the-go machine, I was able to get like 2 international flights in where I kind of was like on and off in terms of sleeping and getting some work done, but at the end of the day, the battery life is still solid. So something else that Apple announced alongside is the Apple Magic Keyboard, and this is an accessory that I feel like is going to make more sense for people who have the iPad 2018 to buy as opposed to buying a whole new iPad. It is not cheap at $300 and $350 for the 13-inch, which is like the same price as like a starting iPad, but it is the same mechanical keyboard that has 1mm of key travel as found on the MacBook Air 2020 and also the MacBook 16-inch from late 2019. It is also backlit, which is something that a lot of people want to see, and I know there's like a lot of third-party accessories out there, but this stand does also have like a bit of a float, and you're able to adjust the angle, which is something that I've wanted for quite a while. That is definitely something I'm gonna have to pick up and review and let you know if it is really worth a $300 asking price, and in Canada it's gonna end up like 400 something. Other than that though, I feel like if you're looking for a brand new iPad, then if you want the 128 gigs of storage, it's gonna make a lot of sense, but with a lot of things in the cloud, I feel like most people are able to manage with just 64 gigs of storage if they had to. So that makes the older iPad a better buy than the brand new one, because I just personally will never use the LiDAR sensor, and I don't really take pictures on the iPad to start with, and the graphics and internal performance improvements are just so little. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.